Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Nyasha Joseph. C News is live.
And I'm Lucia with sport.
Topping the news at this time, a 30-year-old man said to be a St. Anne's outpatient was shot and killed by police at around 7 p.m. on Thursday in Rich Plain, Diego Martin. According to reports, residents called police when they observed a man acting violently. We are told when officers got to the scene, the man attempted to stab an officer with a broken bottle. The officers retaliated and opened fire on the man. He was shot and taken to hospital where he died. He has since been identified as Paul Marchand. As investigations continue into the death of 22-year-old woman police constable Nyasha Joseph, police officers have questioned a female said to be linked to the man who was detained last week after WPC Joseph went missing. The body of the mother of one was found in the Gulf of Paria near Port of Spain on Wednesday, 6 days after she disappeared. An autopsy on the body was conducted on Thursday to find out the cause of death. However, that was said to be inconclusive. Police are now looking for another schoolgirl who has gone missing. Earlier today, police issued a statement saying 16-year-old Michaela Bobcombe, a pupil of Princestown West Secondary School, was last seen leaving her Indian Walk Princestown home at around 7:30 a.m. on Tuesday. She was reported missing to the Princestown police station by her mother. Police are also still looking for 15-year-old Kalia Lily Cozier, a pupil of Bonaire West High School. She was last seen leaving her Gandhi Street St. Helena home at 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday. She was wearing a white and blue flowered dress. She has been described as being 5 feet tall, of medium build and dark brown in complexion. The teenager was reported missing to the Las Lomas police by her mother Alana Williams. And 23-year-old Shondell Golden of Fatima Trace Paramin in Maraval was last seen at the corner of Nicholas Street and Moncoko Road at about 1:30 p.m. last Friday. He was wearing a pair of blue three-quarter pants, a black colored t-shirt, and a pair of black and white sneakers. He is of mixed descent and is 5 feet 7 inches tall. To some other news now, Minister of Labour Jennifer Baptiste Primus said the decision to dissolve the Caroni Limited State Enterprise was not a political move, but rather because the enterprise was not generating revenue. She was speaking to the media following a workshop on productivity for small and micro enterprises.
Purely economic. The numbers are there for all of you to examine it, whether or not. Would you at the personal level engage in a business exercise and you are losing money, you're not making money, are you going to stay in business? You can't. We are into a very difficult economic period where we have to look at whether or not we are getting value for money. And indeed, if you have an organization which isn't giving you the value in return, then you can't keep pouring money down a dark hole.
Nobel Prize winner Sir Derek Alton Walcott has died. The poet, playwright and painter died at his home in Cap Estate, St. Lucia this morning. C News understands the 87-year-old had been ailing for some time and had only been released from hospital on Thursday. Sir Derek made this country his home in 1953 before founding the Trinidad Theatre Workshop in 1959 on Junningham Avenue in Belmont, where many of his plays would be produced. For many years, he divided his time between Trinidad, where he has his home as a writer, and Boston University, where he taught literature and creative writing. In 1992, Sir Derek Walcott was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. He will be greatly missed by his family and friends. His funeral arrangements will be announced shortly and will be held in St. Lucia. Mobile phones, laptops and other electronic items were stolen from courts in St. James after the store was broken into. Police are now investigating the matter. The incident took place last night and C News understands the suspect or suspects broke the front door to gain entry to the establishment. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says he will continue to mention what was done under the People's Partnership government as a way to understand why his administration is doing what it has been doing since it came into office. Speaking at the post-cabinet media briefing on Thursday, Dr. Rowley said if government continues to ignore the past, it will surrender the future. He said his government will continue to hold the People's Partnership accountable.
Has been, and what we are trying to fix, you won't understand the actions that we are taking now. And we have a duty to make sure that you understand why we are doing the things that we are doing now. So therefore, there is no way we can do it in isolation.
The Prime Minister also responded to those who are asking why his government continues to borrow money.
To reduce the expenditure in Trinidad and Tobago from 60-odd billion, some say the target should be 45 billion or lower. Our approach has been, yes, we are throttling down expenditure to meet realistic revenue levels, but we are doing it in a managed way through 50-odd billion downwards so that we don't crash the economy.
This is the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Economist Valmiki Arjun says policies are too harsh and this is possibly hampering investment in this country. Responding to questions on the latest central bank report, which shows the economy is continuing to weaken, Dr. Arjun said despite a small increase in the global economy, Trinidad and Tobago's financial and monetary environment is not in a good place.
Because the policy environments are too harsh, it's limiting the business environment and limiting, so essentially it's limiting investment activity and business activity as well, entrepreneurial activity. Now, despite a series of borrowings recently, we've not really made any serious, or there are very little plans as well to make serious productive investments, especially in non-energy sectors.
He said what is needed is a holistic package to dealing with the increasing unemployment rate.
One needs to try to limit unemployment. So those who are already in jobs, we need to try to allow for them to retain their jobs, or at least for most of them to retain their jobs. But at the same time, we need to also engender certain policies that would attempt to help those who are out of jobs and those especially within the past 2 years who have lost their jobs, try to enter, if not necessarily into the same company or the same perhaps state enterprise, for example, or ministry where they would have lost their jobs.
Here now is Ian Wallace with your afternoon weather.
The trade winds always strengthen as we go through the month of March, and today they'll begin to whip the seas and also push a few clouds into the area, with only a couple of brief showers expected across the hills of the northern range and the main ridge. It'll feel warm, 32 degrees Celsius in Trinidad, possibly 33 in the capital, and 30 degrees Celsius likely in Tobago. Expect a clear and cool night for many areas. For mariners heading offshore, however, look for choppy seas at times at 2 to 2.5 meters in the Caribbean, pushing near to 3 meters out in the Atlantic, with easterly winds of 15 to 20 knots bringing whitecaps and sea spray, and northeasterly swells of 11 seconds. Tide is low at 1 p.m., then high at 7 p.m. That is the latest weather.
The head of the Downtown Business Association, Gregory Aboud, says that the businessmen in the city of Port of Spain are frustrated as they are being prevented from carrying on their business due to the disruption caused by street vendors.
They have been unable to access deliveries, to receive supplies from various distributors and factories in the East-West corridor. In some cases, the persons who sell on Charlotte Street have been sleeping overnight on the street. Some of them have erected steel structures on the roadway and on the sidewalk. They park their vehicles across the street so that the persons who are operating businesses on the street cannot get anywhere to unload their cargo, cannot park.
He said this has caused the businessmen and women to consider shutting down. However, some of them have been advised that their rights are at risk. Now, Deputy Mayor of Port of Spain, Helen Moraine, confirmed that the corporation received a letter from one businessman with reference to vending. He says that the topic is controversial and multi-pronged.
We have discussed it. We're looking at having some stakeholder consultations with all stakeholders, because what happens is often you get one person or one group coming in to represent their side, and then we try to appease one, but in appeasing one, you displease another, and another, and another. So instead of doing that, we're trying to get everybody together as one to discuss it. That includes DOMA. It includes the actual vendors themselves, the taxi driver association such as Belmont, which has come into us and made several complaints, as well as residents who've made complaints about not being able to access the taxis.
PTSC bus services in front of First Citizens Bank in Arima has been relocated to the passenger facility, Lower Hollis Avenue, Arima. This took effect from March 15th. A statement from PTSC said the service to this venue will bring much relief for thousands of commuters who had to endure harsh weather conditions at the previous pickup and drop-off point. On Thursday evening, students of the Hugh Winning Law School put on their inaugural Domestic Violence Awareness Concert at the institution's campus in St. Augustine. The featured speaker at the event, clinical psychologist Dr. Dan Douglas, spoke of the importance of changing how girls and boys are cultured as it shapes what they deem to be acceptable behavior when they themselves become adults. Janine Brown has more.
The Caribbean culture greatly shapes how we view gender and by extension gender roles. This according to clinical psychologist Dr. Diane Douglas, who believes that while there are certain behaviors we deem to be culturally acceptable, a clear line must be drawn when such behavior becomes domestic abuse. She pointed out there are several types of abuse, including physical, sexual, emotional, financial, and one she says is not often spoken of, spiritual abuse.
Using the religious views in order to manipulate and control. So you take out certain passages out of context and you now belabor that. Wives must submit. But the verse just before that says, submit one to another.
While the culturing of men is typically discussed in forums pertaining to domestic violence, Dr. Douglas also pinpointed the harm in what many girls are taught about men from a young age.
Most women learn they only want one thing. And it takes us a while to figure out the thing when you're growing up. But that is a belief that is, when I tell you, put into us from early. So you're taught men cannot be trusted.
She said she's pleased to see TNT's judicial system adopting a psychological approach to issues of domestic violence. As she said, understanding the mind of the abuser is absolutely necessary to solving the problem. The event saw several performers, some of which were students themselves, contributing to the talent portion of the evening. Among them was Bajan Janine Corbin, who delivered her rendition of the world-renowned poem, I Got Flowers Today.
We had our first argument last night, and he said a lot of cruel things that really hurt me. But I know that he is sorry and didn't mean the things he said because he brought me flowers today.
Raquel Winchester poured out Rihanna's Love on the Brain.
No matter what I do, I'm no good without you, and I can't get enough. Must be love on the brain.
And year one student at the law school, Kevin Ford, who is also a police officer back at home in Barbados, blessed the audience with Born Free by Andy Williams.
And life is worth living, but only worth living, 'cause you're born free.
Janine Brown, C News.
And it's time now for me to turn you over to Nasir Mohammed, who is going to tell us what's happening in the world of sport.
On my here, indicative of my t-shirt, it's cricket. Trinidad and Tobago are playing Guyana in the Oval starting from today in the WICB Regional 4-Day Tournament. At the Oval in the Regional 4-Day clash between TNT and Guyana, at lunch TNT reached 62 for 1. Skipper Kyle Hope was on 19 and Isaiah Raja 15, leading the way for Trinidad and Tobago Red Force. Earlier this morning, Clark Road all-rounder Anderson Phillip got his cap from Jason Mohammed as he made his debut for the senior team after having started at the junior level previously. And moving on from the cricket field now to the football field, while all the attention has been focused on the men and their World Cup preparations, spare thought for the national ladies who are also in serious training with new coach Carolina Marache. She gets a real chance to assess the players, pretty much like how Dennis Lawrence did against Barbados last Friday. Only this time, the ladies will host Venezuela in 2 friendlies on March 26th and 29th at the Atubulon Stadium. And the coach is keen to see how her new look squad measures up.
And for us, it's a test. So it's the second time that I can see the players that are based in the US. We will be not fast because we still have our preparation, but in these few weeks we had also some friendly match against the boys and against the under 20, and I think that is a good verified which point we are at this moment.
She was also well aware of the technical qualities that the Venezuelan, like most South American teams, have, and was preparing her troops for the strong challenge. But she does have some concerns as she hasn't been able to get all the players from the US collegiate circuit and is still not sure what some of them can do to help the team.
Some of them I still do not have the chance to see them and to work with them. There are some players that are in the college that they want to come. The coach of their college has told them when they have to come, but unfortunately I decide when we have to start the camp, when we have to finish. So I still need to see other players, but I can have the majority of them, yes.
And that's it for sport for today.
And that's the C News report at noon. I'm Nyasha Joseph.
And I'm Lucia Mohammed.
Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the C News website at ctvtt.com. Have a good afternoon.